So I'm going to do a bit of a video on some extended visual features, and more in particular particle effects. And the particle effects for I Really Need This Job, one of the ones that we did was a fire particle effect for the fire traps. And I've previously made this, but I'm going to remake it now to show you a bit of how I did it and how the inspiration as well. Because one of the inspirations was from Kingdoms and Castles. In this game, uses a lot of voxel and cubes, but the way they do their fires is really cool. So we've got some pretty basic stuff. We've got some large cubes coming into smaller cubes, changing colors, and that's all like pretty simple stuff. So we could recreate that in Unity pretty easily. So what I'm going to first need is a texture. So I'm just going to use a white square because that can easily have color put onto it in the type of shader that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to actually first I'll make a material for this. And so this material will have that white square as an albedo. And I don't need to do anything else to this except change the shader from mobile particles additive. So this particular shader looks really cool. It's got a bit of transparency in when it's rendered in mesh. So I'm just going to create an ordinary particle system, get that really nice standard particles. I'm going to change that to mesh. That's just the really nice particles rendering on all sides. So we're going to use our own material for this, and that'll take the shader for it as well. So you can can't really tell from here, but you can kind of see through them. It'll show a lot with color. So I'm going to grab the start color and put it as a deep red for now. That's kind of a nice preset red for fire. This is 0. So I think the first thing that I want to sort of focus on is the shape of the fire, maybe. So we'll go down to and missions as well. Make that a bit faster. We'll go. This doesn't need to last very long. So 1 second start lifetime, because this will be a little bit faster. Maybe 7. So the shape is kind of wrong at the moment. It needs to come a bit sort of closer to the center, so it starts out wide and it doesn't sort of expand too much because it looks more like a big bonfire. So the start size is fine, just 1. Especially in this view, it'll be fine. It'll look right. The gravity modifier is really cool, but I don't think I'll use it in this one. I really want to, but I won't. I think so. Everything in this generic particle systems drop down is fine. So emissions 15, we'll stay with that for now, and we'll look at shape. The angle probably around 10. That looks a lot better. We're emitting from base. We'll keep the cone, and yeah, I think that looks fine. So shape. So what another thing that we'd like to definitely fix is the color. So we'll do that by color over lifetime, and we can change the alphas with these little pins up here, and the general colors with these pins down here, and we can add some new pins. So what I want is for this color to start at that deep red, so maybe even deeper. Maybe I'll start at a deeper red, and that secondary color that I want to go to is nice dark orange. It's got this sort of blend up here, but then I want to move out to a lighter yellow, something really bright. Maybe a little bit lighter though. Yep, around there. So we've got this blend here, and we can definitely create another pin up here. So right about 60% of the way from there, 60%, the alpha should be full, and then the alpha should be sort of going out. So these are going to fade, they're not going to disappear, they're going to fade out. We don't want them to fade out completely because we'll have some sizing as well, so I think that's good. And you can't see it represented here clearly because the start color has a lot to do with it. But the cool thing about the start color is you can kind of now play with it, so you get it right up here. It's kind of your own new little slider for the intensity and how fast you want it to change. So for right now, we want a fair bit of yellow coming through, and it's going up to maybe a bit more. Yeah, it's starting really deep red and it's getting yellow pretty quickly. Another thing we need to change over lifetime is the size, and that's a really important one. We'll give it a curve. So I think this sort of fast dropout is pretty good. A linear one is just a little bit boring, so we'll go with this one. We might actually change it a little bit, make it drop off a bit faster, so it'll stay larger for longer, and then it'll go out pretty quickly. That looks a lot better, and you can already see like the randomization of particles makes it already look a little bit fiery, but we can do better than that. We won't do separate axes, so we can leave by speed everything and by velocity that's not really needed for this. But we want some rotation on separate axes, all sort of randomized. So I think we need a random between two constants for these. Go from 0 to 45. Yeah, for each of them. We don't want them crazy, but we want them to have a little bit of their own uniqueness to them. So that should give it a little bit of rotation every now and again. Another thing we kind of want to do is grab something to make it not so uniform. And we can put some noise on this, and that noise is pretty large. Like we could make it flicker a little bit more, not so much more. Give the fire sort of a free-flowing form. So that's looking better. I think actually that color over lifetime probably needs to change a little bit. I want it darker for longer and not fade out so fast. So yellow could possibly be a bit brighter as well. Yeah, that looks a bit better. So we've got a nice little base of red here going to orange and then off to yellow. And it kind of disappears and gets a little bit more, so fades out. So that's already kind of a decent little fire, but we could definitely make some changes as well. What Kingdoms and Castles has is sort of inside their fire, they've got all these big black sort of clouds of smoke. They start off red and they get larger instead of smaller. So we could try that. We could this fire, grab another particle system and zero that as well. So this particle system will be a child of fire. You can see them all running at the same time. And this one's going to largely the same kind of things. We're going to mesh. We'll grab that default particle, the default material. Sorry. Use it because it's nice and white, and it doesn't have its own color that will affect other. We won't have to change it to it won't affect the fire. So this one, the way I would do this is I'd probably change the duration. It's sort of it's a slower moving thing, so I'm going to have the start lifetime a bit longer and have that start speed reduced maybe. Could also have a start delay. I don't think that means anything in this context. So we're going to chuck that up to 3, and we need this to be smaller at the base and larger at the sort of the head of it. And also we don't want it so visible while it's in the fire. So there's a few ways we could get that. Obviously one of them, we're going to grab like a sort of a brownie, find a brownie sort of start color. Yeah. And that way we can go from sort of a grayscale color over lifetime and just change that through the start color. So we're going to color over lifetime. This one can be a bit more straightforward, but we will have some new alphas. It wants to start at 0, so we can't see it, and then go from black, and we'll get that up to sort of a lighter grey pretty early on. That's going to kind of stay grey for a bit, but it's going to get a little bit lighter. It's not going to go transparent. I could, but it would be right at the end. Yeah, I think we'll do that. But right at the end, it will go transparent again. So that's our color over lifetime that we want. We'll see that a bit more when we change the start color and darker or lighter. So there's a nice brownie, grey to black. We might make that a little bit more sort of visual. With the color over lifetime, we'll get that darker. Darker for longer. Okay, so there's some smoke kind of appearing in the top half of the flames and then disappearing as well. We need it to get bigger, so we can go size over lifetime. And this one could probably be not so productive. This could probably be a linear thing, but we're actually just going to ramp up right up at the end. Actually, we might want to get bigger sooner. Yeah, so add another key. Get bigger sooner, and then get much larger at the end. So what we can do for that is chuck the scale up above sort of what we want. So the start size is just 1. We make it 3 is a bit much, but 2 is looking a lot better. Getting sort of pluming, I guess. So this isn't exactly what I would use for I really need this job, because we just wanted a quick fire. We really just needed the fire, maybe some subparticles, but not this big pluming smoke. This is just more of like how to do what was in Kingdoms and Castles. So we'll add a tiny bit of noise to that. So we'll take the strength right down to maybe 20. It's just going to kind of wobble with the air, I suppose. And the shape is really quite wrong as well. This probably should be taken down to maybe not 10, but let's go to 20. Yeah, it's not too bad. So that kind of, you can see the fire coming through the smoke. That's what I really like. These are much harder colours than the smoke is. So yeah, we can chuck some rotation on the smoke as well by just having a rotation over lifetime. Actually, like right now, as it is, just an angular velocity of 45, that looks really nice. So I'm going to say I'll just stick right with that. And the sort of geometry that it's creating in the transparency is really cool. So it's going from cubes to making all these cool little patterns through its opacity. Yeah, I think that's, chuck a little plane under it to see it better. Just make that sort of cartoonish green. Yeah, I think that's, apart from the green coming through the particle effect, it's a little bit easier to see, and that looks rather cool. I think that that beginning, the actual fire particle, could probably be a bit darker at the beginning, but that's just all tweaking. And that's how I achieve the fire. And this is a bit more of an extended version, even with the cool smoke coming out. Alright, well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.